Citi 97.3. Accra.
Good afternoon, Ghana. It's 12 o'clock. Time to reach for mobile water. Mobile water, unique in every way.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Citi News.
It's midday. A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Citi Prime News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are live from our studios at number 11 Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka, Accra. The news is also live around the world on citinewsroom.com. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Coming up, Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono hit with 2 more petitions for hair removal. Meanwhile, government has defended its decision to suspend the CJ, saying President Mahama acted in accordance with the Constitution.
There's no law which says that the president, should stop performing a constitutional function merely because someone has gone to court in how the duty or whether the duty is performed.
Also coming up, minority condemns unlawful dismissal of chief executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital hours after unannounced visit by the health minister.
The open confrontation with health workers was not necessary at all. We believe our colleagues have done better under the situation.
Still ahead, Transport Ministry reviews age limits for motorcycle riders to 21 following widespread criticism from Okada and tricycle riders.
Within the stakeholder consultations we have had, everybody is recommending that we should look at the age limit of 25 and bring it down to 21.
And later, Accra stands on the brink of a waste management crisis as landfill sites across the capital have exceeded its capacity. All that and more on Citi Prime News, which is live across the 16 regions of the country. In the Western region, we are live on Premier FM 100.5, Beach FM 105.5 and Sky Power FM 93.5, all in Takrade. Bono region, J Life FM 95.5 in Sunyane. Ashanti region, Orange FM 107.9 in Kumasi. Volta region, we are live on Global FM 105.1 in Ho, Adanu FM 107.7 in Adakluwaya, Northern region Diamond FM 93.7 in Tamale, Upper West Westlink 88.1 in Laura, Upper East we are live on Source FM 100.1 in Boko, and Northeast region we are live on Scap FM 101.3 in Nakpanduri.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Updates you on all the running stories and connects you to the newsmakers.
Grateful for choosing us. Now, the office of the president has received 2 new petitions seeking the removal of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono from office. These latest petitions bring to 5 the total number of petitions submitted following 3 earlier ones filed by separate individuals on February 14 and March 17, 2025. The petitions allege misconduct and abuse of power on the part of the Chief Justice. Although the specific details of all 5 petitions remain confidential, sources indicate that the Chief Justice has been formally served with the document. Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Justice Shrimsai, has justified the President's decision to suspend Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono. Former MP for Ibuakwa South and private legal practitioner Samuel Atachian has described the suspension as unconstitutional and potentially contemptuous of the Supreme Court. However, speaking on the Citi Breakfast Show, Dr. Shrimsai argued that the President is mandated to carry out his constitutional duties regardless of any legal actions filed against his decisions.
There's no law which says that the president, should stop performing a constitutional function. Not just the president. There's no law which says that any public official should stop performing a public duty merely because someone has gone to court or has raised objection to how the duty or whether the duty is performed. So there's no basis for that as far as the Constitution is concerned. And you see, when people make such assertion, what you forget is that when you're a public officer, you are balancing interests. Okay? So if the president says that I will not proceed with what, and I'll wait for a court decision to be made, right? The other side is that there's someone or a group of people who are aggrieved and have adopted a constitutionally required process for a particular outcome. So that is why the law does not, require any person to stop performing a public duty merely because someone is aggrieved.
Following calls for the findings from the removal process to be made public, Dr. Justice Rimsai clarified that the confidentiality required under Article 146 is intended to protect the integrity of the process and the reputation of those involved.
I think the reason why there's a requirement for privacy is that some of the issues that may be raised in the petition, especially where the issues are not founded, could be defamatory. And so the premise of the Constitution were trying to balance the personal, character protection of the accused justice and also the public interest. So what I think the situation is that during the proceedings, and the Constitution is very clear that the proceedings shall be in camera. It doesn't say that after the proceedings, when the decision is made, the public will be denied of the basis for the decision. That would not have been, I don't think that is what the premise of the Constitution intended. And we have seen in other situations where the proceedings have ended, we've seen some of the decisions published. So, for example, in President Akufo-Addo, the one on CJ Tokono in December, I think he wrote a lengthy decision of the proceedings and was published. So the privacy aspect, as far as I understand, is limited to while the proceeding is going on.
Deputy Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Justice Rimsai. Meanwhile, the Executive Director of the Ghana Center for Democratic Development and Chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee, Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh, is calling for reforms to the current process for removing justices of the Superior Court. In a Facebook post, Professor Prempeh described the recent suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono as troubling and lacking transparency. He stressed the need for institutional safeguards to protect judicial independence and urged a national dialogue on constitutional reform to prevent political interference in the judiciary. Here, excerpt of the statement read by Citi News' Charles Owusukumi.
I have at least two problems with Article 146 in its present form. First is the secrecy or lack of transparency concerning the removal petition. Even if the removal proceedings must be held in camera, I believe that at the minimum the findings and outcome of the proceedings, including the grounds and supporting evidence behind the removal petition, must be made public after the fact. The public must not be kept in the dark as to why a removal petition failed or succeeded. In the interest of justice, I believe the grounds and evidence in support of the committee's decision, whichever way it goes, must be made public so that the public too can judge for themselves as to whether justice was served in the matter. Where the removal petition pertains to a Chief Justice, no sitting judge should be included in the 5-person removal committee that is constituted to hear the petition. None of the CJ's judicial peers must be made to sit in judgment on a removal petition involving their judicial colleague or boss, as they are likely to have an interest in the outcome. Better to keep a precedent out of the removal process, except to implement after the fact the final outcome of the process as determined by an independent removal committee.
Those were excerpts of a Facebook post by Chairman of the Constitutional Review Committee, read by my colleague Charles Owusukumi. Now, the Doctors Association of Tamale Teaching Hospital has expressed concern over what it describes as the misrepresentation of fact and the wrongful vilification of one of its members. This follows a video circulating on social media capturing A verbal exchange between the health minister and the head of the accident and emergency department, which has sparked public criticism and media attention. The hospital's chief executive, Dr. Adam Atiku, was dismissed yesterday over allegations of negligence linked to the death of a patient at the facility's accident and emergency ward. However, in a statement, the doctors clarified that their colleague who was seen engaging with the minister was only explaining the patient's condition and the challenges encountered during the referral process. Meanwhile, a member of Parliament Health Committee, Dr. Kingsley Agyemang, has expressed disappointment over the dismissal of the chief executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. Adam Atiku. Dr. Agyemang described the decision as a breach of administrative and constitutional protocols, arguing that the Council of State should have been consulted.
I think we were very clear in our statement. We quoted various provisions of the Ghana Health Service and Teaching Hospital Act. It is based on these provisions that we are of the view. This is without ambiguity. This is without ambiguity. It is clearly out of the law. Because the law is very clear that if you want to sack the CEO of a teaching hospital, the president must do that in consultation with the Council of State, which our checks clearly reveals that consultation has not been made. Again, if that consultation had been made, why did it take after the incident of the unfortunate incident that happened that we are of the same opinion that as public officers we have to exercise high degrees of sobriety because that is the nature of the work. The open confrontation with health workers was not necessary at all. We believe our colleagues have done better under the situation.
Dr. Kingsley Agyemang serves as the MP for Iboka South and a member of Parliament Health Committee. Let's go on the phone lines and speak to the Ghana Medical Association, who have just issued a statement on development at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. On the phone lines is General Secretary of the GMA, Dr. Richard Salome. Doc, good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. First, let's take your reaction on the dismissal of the Chief Executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. Indeed, Ghana Medical Association has taken notice of happenings at the teaching hospital. Regarding the CEO and his dismissal, we as an association note that yes, the government of the day has the power to hire and fire, appoint and dismiss anyone. But we believe that there are due processes that need to be followed, especially when this is being done on the back of allegations of negligence. Negligence is not just merely a word to be put about. Negligence is a legal term that has clear criteria that need to be fulfilled. And the fact that this case has yet to be fully investigated and the so-called negligence well established, we believe that this is not a fair way to go. Of course, if you investigate, go through the processes, and there is a clarity on whether there's negligence or not, and the CEO is being found culpable, among other things, it could be other issues anyway. We believe that that is a fair process, and that then allows probably the person to be heard. We do not dispute maybe the minister's desire to see the system improve, but we believe that the tangent that is being it is taken in terms of how this issue is being carried about may not lead to the desired outcomes. You may sack the CEO, but as it is said in healthcare quality improvement, the systems are designed to produce the results you see. And so you may sack one or two people, it may lead to momentary results, and the public may rejoice over that. But once the underlying and core issues are not addressed, you can bring so many people in. And we've noticed even in Tamale Teaching Hospital, many CEOs have come and go, and the problems still persist. So we believe that maybe a better approach could have been used in this matter. Yes.
Doc, your statement is calling for an unqualified apology from the Minister of Health and then the MP for Tamale North. Exactly how do you want this to be done? Do you want the dismissed CEO to be reinstated?
There were multiple events that occurred in the hospital. And if you watch the various versions of the videos, listen to the longer version of the audio, you would notice that one very young, dedicated senior specialist consultant at that facility, one who actually if you even watch the video, one of the nurses vouches, uses his own personal resources to purchase water, drugs, and other things for patients in the unit in an attempt to respond and explain the situation, which honestly, in our opinion, should not have been conducted in the media space, because you don't conduct clinical audits or audits of patients' deaths in the media space, because it can easily be misconstrued and exposes the staff to various personal and psychological risks. And the facility itself could be laden with suits for issues that may not actually even be related. And so we felt that how he was treated, shouted at, essentially belittled in public is not at all the way to go. Health workforce constitute a major force in any policy implementation, in any change management that we want to see in the health sector. And many of our health workers are working under trying conditions, breaking their backs, overworking in many circumstances. Indeed, yes, the minister acknowledged this at the end of his interview and talks about that, yes, they should still do their best. In the particular instance where a person needs to be on the ventilator, the best that he's asking to be done is for the person to be on a ventilator. And if there is no ventilator available, it's not the job of that doctor to purchase that thing. And we believe this has been a persistent issue. And if the MP, who is the MP for the area, is so interested, should be looking at how to equip this place properly and resource them, and not public shaming the doctor and other staff that were involved. Indeed, we believe, and we are not here as an association to shield anyone who does the wrong thing. We believe there are due processes that should be followed. He could have been called to an in-camera session, reprimanded where it is found that they had done any wrong, and the matter properly addressed. As we speak, a doctor who is a senior specialist teaches medical students and does many other duties in the hospital. His life is under threat. People have sent various threatening messages to him. He's been cyber-bullied on various things. For what exactly? And on not an established position that there's been any particular negligence. And so we must be very careful. And that is why we think that how he was treated, he's been asked a question to address. We can allow that to go through. And that conversation should, in the first place, not be in the media space. But once it is there, at least we can interact in a very cordial and respectful manner and still institute the change that we want to see. And that is why we are not very happy. And we think that they deserve an apology. And then the issues that need to be addressed, we are willing to sit down. Okay. DMA has actually instituted measures to even attract people, support our colleagues to go to places where there are no doctors and other things. And we are willing to partner and support the minister and the government to achieve these aims, but not in this particular manner.
Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Richard Salome is the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Now, still on issues to do with the dismissal of the CEO of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Labour consultant Austin Game has, on the other hand, defended the dismissal of the Chief Executive, describing it as lawful and grounded in substantive concerns. Speaking to Citi News, Austin Game said the President acted within his rights, but also noted that Dr. Atiku reserves the right to petition the decision.
When it comes to very grievous matters, such as death, based upon what have been observed by the employer as negligence, leading to the death of somebody, the employer has the ultimate responsibility to protect the interest of all people. You don't need to be given notice. You can be terminated or dismissed. In fact, that is the only time that the employer has the right to dismiss a worker without giving the worker notice under any circumstance. The worker, however, reserves the right to raise a petition that they should take a look at his or her concerns.
He had Labour consultant Austin Game. This is still the City Prime News on 97.3 City FM. Still to come, Transport Ministry reviews age limit for motorcycle riders to 21 following widespread criticism from Okada and tricycle riders. We have details coming up shortly. Please don't go away.
City Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Looking for the latest buzz in Ghana's entertainment world? Welcome to Ghana Weekend, your ultimate destination for all things creativity and entertainment.
Stay in the loop with breaking news, exclusive interviews, and then insider stories from your favorite creatives and stars. From music, movies, fashion and art, lifestyle and culture, Ghana Weekend brings it all together. Get a daily dose of entertainment, discover new talents, and never miss out on the creativity that defines our vibrant culture.
Stay connected with us across all platforms. Follow us on Instagram with the handle Ghana Weekend, on X Ghana Weekend, on TikTok Ghana Weekend, at Ghana Weekend TV on YouTube for the latest in entertainment, travel, and everything Ghana. Don't miss out. Join the Ghana Weekend family today. Ghana Weekend, where entertainment meets creativity. Visit GhanaWeekend.com now.
Citi Prime News at 12 midday. Update you on all the running stories and connect you to the newsmakers.
Thank you for staying with us. The government is set to review the age limit for riders of motorcycles and tricycles from 25 to 21 years. The adjustment follows opposition from the Okada Riders Association, which argued that the proposed 25-year limit would leave many young people jobless. Speaking on the sidelines of the Transport and Logistics Sector CEO's breakfast meeting, Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikpe said concerns about the age requirement have been addressed in a memo submitted to Cabinet for approval.
Our laws indicates that before you can do any commercial business, you should be age 25. And we cannot take off Okada riders alone out of that law. And so it has taken us back for me to prepare and send another amendment. And so I have presented it to Cabinet for us to look at how we will look at the age in general for commercial purposes and bring it down from 25 to 21. Because within the stakeholder consultations we have had, everybody is recommending that we should look at the age limit of 25 and bring it down to 21. So I've just submitted a memo to Cabinet, and very soon, if it is approved, we will take it on board so that the law will be amended in that totality to also reduce the age of doing commercial business when it comes to driving and motorcycle riding.
You heard the Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikpe. The chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Nimoy Thompson, has urged African government to focus more on diversification of market and products to deal with the new tariff regime imposed by the U.S. government on the world. Dr. Nimoy Thompson, who is part of the Ghana delegation to the IMF spring meetings, spoke to Citi News' Umaru Sanda Amadou in Washington, D.C. There is more in this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump's sudden imposition of huge tariffs has shocked world markets. While superpowers like China are reacting in equal measure, smaller economies are left scrambling. Dr. Nimoy Thompson, however, believes smaller economies like Ghana have an easy way out by diversifying.
The reaction would be to accelerate efforts at diversification. Diversification of markets, diversification of products, diversification of the economy itself, and look for alternative markets. From the presentation we had yesterday, Africa as a whole, given the new tariff regime now, Africa as a whole actually would have a lower tariff on average, I think about 6.4%, than the US would have on African exports, which is 10%. Minimum. So right away we are starting at a disadvantage. Goods coming into the US, into Africa, would attract an average of 6.4%, and goods going to the US would attract 10%. That obviously is not fair trade, but it is what it is, and it's up to us to take advantage of this very challenging time to come up with different approaches to doing things, particularly expanding trade.
Dr. Nimoy Thompson also expressed optimism that Ghana will benefit in the area of energy and job creation following some discussions at the ongoing IMF meetings.
The Commission is looking to broaden the definition of economic growth from just a one-dimensional GDP-based measurement to a three-dimensional or 3D approach of growth in GDP, growth in jobs, and growth in wages. These three things must go hand in hand. If they don't, and you keep talking about GDP, it's meaningless to the ordinary Ghanaian unless you can tell me that GDP is growing and jobs are growing and wages are also growing. Then it makes sense. So it's like putting a human face on development as opposed to just throwing around numbers.
Citi News' Umaru Sandamadu filed that report from Washington, D.C. in the USA. Now, Accra stands on the brink of a waste management crisis as landfill sites across the capital, including the engineered landfill, have exceeded capacity. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly is sounding the alarm, warning of an imminent public health emergency if urgent action isn't taken. Citi News' Melody Fafa Potofe explores the growing threats.
Accra is teetering on the edge of a major public health disaster. Landfills across the city have reached their limit with piles of uncollected waste, creating fertile ground for the spread of disease.
And those you can't recycle and all healthcare waste must be incinerated. And there the pathogens will die in the furnace before the bottom ash is taken as an inert material to the landfill site.
The AMA warns that the unchecked accumulation of waste is a ticking time bomb, one that could trigger a wave of illness across the capital.
Sanitation, you can't mention sanitation without linking it to environmental health. A country without a landfill site is sitting on a time bomb. We don't even have properly, proper incinerators that will even manage medical waste.
Accra generates over 1 million metric tons of solid waste annually, making up roughly 21% of Ghana's total waste output. On average, each individual produces 0.70 kilogram of waste daily, while shops contribute around 1.32 kilogram per day. Now, over 50% of this waste is generated from organic materials, while 16% is generated from plastics, with 6% and smaller proportions generated from inert materials. This is the engineered landfill site. Other dumping grounds across the city lack proper engineering and oversight. Now imagine this: waste from hospitals, markets, households and industries all end up at these sites. When it rains, the toxic leachate seeps into rivers and underground water channels, eventually making its way back into communities. The result? A cycle of cholera, typhoid, and other dangerous infections. It's a vicious cycle, and one that seems never-ending. The government has further pledged to pursue urgent reforms aimed at boosting accountability and improving performance across the waste management sector. But how fast can these reforms take effect, and how long can the city endure this growing menace?
We should allow and involve the implementers, that is the technocrats at the various MMDAs, to be part of the agreement process. Because you don't sign contracts in Accra and send it to them to sign as witnesses. Whether they sign or not, their contract stands.
Experts have expressed deep concern, warning that the consequences could extend far beyond disease outbreaks, threatening long-term environmental and public health.
In an era of urbanization, where we would have genuine challenges because there will be more generation of waste, there is a need for us as a nation to have a holistic approach to the problem. When it comes to waste management, it is capital intensive. So when the resources are also not there for the contractors to do their work, it poses a challenge.
Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Sanitation and Water Resources, Bless Oti, says the government is taking decisive steps to tackle the crisis head-on.
Going for Zoom Lion currently has about 5 years contract with the government. His contract was renewed by the MPP government on the 24th of November 2024. Yeah. So for 5 years. So at the end of the contract, we appeal to government that the contract should take on board the inputs of the local assemblies, especially one around Glefe,
that is an illegal dumping site, we are putting measures in place. We are going to be meeting with the various stakeholders so that within this shop, before the end of this year, that refuse will be cleared from there, because they have to assign a service provider to quickly clear it.
The deteriorating state of sanitation in the capital cannot be overemphasized. However, citizens are holding the government to their promises.
That report was put together by my colleague Melody Fafa Potofe, and that's how we end today's edition of the Citi Prime News. Now, before we go, we will look at our headlines. Chief Justice Gertrude Tokono hit with 2 more petitions for her removal. Meanwhile, government has defended its decision to suspend the CJ, saying President Mahama acted in accordance with the Constitution, and minority has condemned the unlawful dismissal of the Chief Executive of the Tamale Teaching Hospital hours after an unannounced visit by the Health Minister. Please log on to citinewsroom.com for more stories. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Good afternoon.